In today's video, we'll compare the GoPro Hero 10, the Paralenz Vaquita and the iPhone 13 Pro to see which one out of the three cameras is the best for capturing your underwater adventures. Let's do this. Hi and welcome back to the Underwater Filmmaking School, also in this new year in 2022. I hope that you've all had a great start into this new year, and I'm very happy to see your smiling faces again here on my channel, where we have a lot of very interesting content coming up in this new and very exciting year ahead of us. By the way, how did you enjoy our new intro? Top or flop? Let me know down in the comment section below. And now, let's get right into today's video. Now, I'm very excited for this first video of the year because it is one that you have been waiting for quite some time. A comparison between the Paralenz Vaquita, the GoPro Hero 10 and the iPhone 13 Pro cameras to see which one is the best for filming underwater. Now, the way I want to compare these cameras and come to a conclusion is that I've decided on 6 categories that I want to look at and basically distribute points to the cameras depending on how well they perform in each of these categories. The judgment to all these categories is going to be based on my personal experience that I've had with these cameras. I've had them with me on my recent production trip to Egypt back in November 21. And I had plenty of time to test out all these cameras in all different scenarios and situations, so I can give you a fairly objective review and comparison to how these cameras perform compared to each another. So in each of these 6 categories, I will be giving away 3 points. 3 points for the camera that I think performs best in that specific category, 2 points for the camera that is going to be in the middle, and only 1 point for the camera that I think is performing the worst in that specific category. So without any further ado, let's get right into the first category, which is price. So the price category is pretty straightforward. Looking at the GoPro Hero 10, we're looking at around $500 that the purchase of that camera will set you back. Obviously, you'll also need a underwater housing, which will cost you an additional $50. So you're looking at around $550 to have a complete setup for filming underwater. The second camera that we're looking at is the Paralenz Vaquita. Now, the Paralenz Vaquita will set you back around $750. You don't need any specific housing to go with the camera because the camera itself is waterproof down to 350 meters. And last but not least, the iPhone 13 Pro, the lowest model there will cost you around $1,000. And yes, you also do need a housing to be able to take the iPhone 13 Pro underwater. Now, I've used the SeaLife SportDiver smartphone housing for all my testing, just simply because that's the housing that I prefer and I like the best out of all the housings out on the market right now. I'm not going to go into the details why this is the case in this video. There is going to be a specific detailed review on the SeaLife SportDiver smartphone housing coming up in the next couple of weeks. But it is the housing that I've chosen to use with the iPhone 13 Pro, and that housing will set you back an additional $300, making it a total of around $1,300 for this setup. So it's point distribution time, and with the prices that I've mentioned, the 3 points in the category price will go to the GoPro Hero 10, The 2 points will go to the Paralenz Vaquita and the iPhone 13 Pro. Together with the SeaLife SportDiver smartphone housing, will end up getting 1 point in this category. Moving on to the second category, which is our ease of use, or how well you can handle those cameras while being underwater. We'll start again with the GoPro Hero 10. I assume that most of you guys have been using GoPros before, so you're quite familiar with the menu structure, with how you can set different things on your GoPros, and that normally works quite well on land, just using the touch screen of the GoPro. Now, this actually causes some problems when trying to use the GoPros underwater, simply because you can't really use the touch screen while being underwater and while having the camera inside the housing, even the official GoPro Underwater housing. So you basically will have to decide what settings you want to use while being underwater, even before you get into the water. Yes, there is workarounds there. You can definitely use the preset function and make certain presets that you can then access while being underwater. But even with these presets, you'll have to decide what settings you want to have in each of these presets and how you want to combine those settings. So you're not very flexible in terms of seeing something unexpected underwater and having to change, for example, your field of view, your frame rate, all that sort of stuff, your white balance, whatever you need to change. Honestly speaking, encountering things that are unexpected underwater does happen quite often, especially if you're diving in places that you haven't dived before, places that you're not very familiar with. So it is actually a good thing to be able to adjust your parameters, your settings while being underwater. And that's quite difficult with the GoPro Hero cameras. So this is a rather big drawback for me and something that I really don't like about the handling of the GoPro Hero 10 when using it to film your underwater adventures. Moving on to the Paralenz Vaquita. Now this camera is, in my opinion, very intuitive to use. It's only got sort of a ring that you can turn around to access different menu options, and then you basically have one lever that you can pull back to access the different options inside of the menu points. At first it seems a little odd to only have those options to go through the entire menu, but it does work surprisingly well and very intuitive, as I said before. The good thing about the Paralenz Vaquita is that you can access every single function while being underwater, which is great because you can react to unexpected things happening to you underwater and unexpected situations that you come across. And you can just set your frame rate, you can set your white balance, you can basically set anything that you want while being underwater, and that is a big plus when it comes to the handling. It can be even used wearing thick gloves, even here in the cold lakes of Switzerland, which makes it universally usable in all kinds of water conditions. The only drawback that I see with the Paralenz Vaquita when it comes to the handling and the ease of use is that the screen that they've put at the back of the camera is rather small. This is not a big issue if you're going through the menu structure, because you can see all the menu points quite easily, but the problem is if you want to use the screen to set your frame and just make sure that you're monitoring your recording while you're filming, that is rather challenging using such a small screen. Now, when we talk about the iPhone 13 Pro, the handling, the ease of use of the phone underwater, we also need to take in consideration that it depends a lot on what kind of housing you're using with your iPhone 13 Pro. Because every housing will come with its individual app that they use to connect to your phone and then use your phone as a camera underwater. Depending on how good the app of the housing manufacturer is, that's obviously going to inflict a lot on the experience that you're going to have using your iPhone 13 Pro underwater. Now, with the SeaLife SportDiver smartphone housing, I find that the handling is very, very intuitive and very easy, really. The only thing that I don't really like about it is that it has some lag when going through the menu. So once pressing a button, you'll have to wait for like well, it's not even a second, it's maybe like a split second before it actually jumps onto the next menu point, but that can be rather disturbing and annoying, especially when you want to switch settings fairly quickly because you have to react to a certain situation that you find yourself in while on your dive. So that's really the only negative thing that I can say about the use of the iPhone 13 Pro in combination with the SeaLife SportDiver smartphone housing. Everything else works really, really well. You can access all different cameras. You can use your wide angle, your ultra wide angle, your macro telephoto lens underwater. You can access all the other settings while being underwater easily. So in my opinion, that's actually quite a good solution. The last thing that I want to mention here is the size of the screen that you get with the iPhone 13 Pro. Obviously, you're going to get the entire size of the iPhone screen as you monitor for framing and monitoring the images that you're taking. And that is a big advantage because you get a nice, large, big screen, the biggest one out of all of these cameras, and you can make sure that your image is sharp, you can make sure that the composition is right, and it just makes it a lot easier than having to work with a much smaller screen. Right, so let's get to the point. And in this category, handling and ease of use of your cameras underwater, 1 point goes to the GoPro Hero 10, 2 points go to the iPhone 13, and 3 points go to the Paralenz Vaquita, which is the winner in this category. Let's look at category number 3, which is the versatility of the cameras, meaning how well can you use them in a variety of different situations, how well can you adapt those cameras to these situations, and how many situations can they actually cope with. Now, looking at the GoPro Hero 10 first of all, I think that the GoPros per se are very versatile cameras. They're very small, lightweight, they've got a variety of different mounting options that you can use to mount them either onto yourself, onto your mask. You can use them on a tray as your primary camera, or you can use them like I mostly do, mounted onto my larger rig and covering a wide angle sort of perspective while I'm, for example, using my main rig to shoot macro and have a macro lens on there. You can use your GoPro Hero 10 to film on land as well as underwater, which gives you again a little bit more versatility there, and you can use it to film wide angle as well as mid shots. Close-up macro shots are a little difficult, but you can get additional macro lenses that will make it possible for you to use it even to film macro underwater. The GoPro Hero 10 will record in 5.3K at 60 frames per second or even at 4K with 120 frames per second, which is quite impressive for such a small camera at such a price point. Moving on to the Paralenz Vaquita, which is really an underwater camera and can really only be used underwater. There is no sense trying to use the camera above water because it's just not designed to be doing that. Now you can use the Paralenz Vaquita to record wide angle as well as mid shots. Same as like with the GoPro, close-up macro shots are difficult with the Paralenz Vaquita, but they've just come out with a new module, a macro module that will enable you to use it for shooting macro underwater as well, but you need to get some accessories for that. The Paralenz Vaquita is capable of recording in 4K 60p, which is quite standard for these cameras nowadays. Looking at the iPhone 13 Pro, that one can obviously be used on land as well as underwater if you combine it with a underwater housing. Depending on what housing you're using, you will be able to access all different lenses of the iPhone 13 Pro, which is great because now you can use your ultra wide lens, your wide lens, as well as your macro lens to cover everything from ultra wide scenes all the way to macro shots while being underwater. And you can switch in between those lenses very easily and quickly. The iPhone 13 Pro records in 4K up to 60 frames per second. The special thing here though is that it will give you the option of recording in a ProRes codec, giving you a lot more options in post-production. Now, using the ProRes codec is not guaranteed with every underwater housing that you're using, because most of the underwater housings that will have a own app, they will not give you the option of selecting the ProRes codec. But there is housings out there that will allow you to use the touch screen of your iPhone 13 Pro even while being underwater, and these housings will give you the option of selecting the ProRes option even while being underwater, so you can record your footage using the ProRes codec. So how do we distribute the points in this category, the versatility? I would say we give 1 point to the Paralenz Vaquita, we'll give 2 points to the iPhone 13 Pro, and we'll give 3 points to the GoPro Hero 10. In category number 4, I want to talk about and compare the accessibility of the footage, meaning how easy is it to get to the footage that you've recorded with the recording camera, and how easy is it for you to share that footage or start editing the footage and putting together a little film with the footage that you've recorded. Now, looking at the GoPro Hero 10 first again. Now, there's different options how you can get to the footage that you've recorded on your GoPro Hero 10. Basically 2 options. You can either just pull out the SD card, put it into your computer and just download the footage and go from there, put it into your editing software, edit a clip together and then share it to the platforms that you want to. Alternatively, you can also use the Quick app, and if you're a GoPro subscriber, you get the full functionality of the Quick app, where you can wirelessly download all the footage from your camera onto your phone, and from there then have it backed up into the cloud. You've got unlimited cloud storage with the subscription plan, so you don't have to worry about losing any of your footage, which is a good thing. Once you've got it on your phone, you can then use the Quick app to edit the footage. There is a sort of a editor built into the Quick app. It's not a full editing software, but it does have some basic functionalities, and it works. It's nothing really fancy, nothing really spectacular, but it works for basic edits of your footage, and you can then share it to the different social media platforms right away. If you don't want to use the Quick app to edit your footage, you can also just download it from the app onto your phone and then use any software that you've got on your phone, or transfer it onto your computer after that and just edit it on the editing software that you're using on your computer. I personally would use the option of just putting the SD card into your computer, downloading the footage and then importing it into your editing software and edit the clips that way. Accessing the footage of your Paralenz Vaquita works very similar to the GoPro Hero 10. You've got the same 2 options. You can pull out the card and put it into your computer, download your footage that way. That's the option that I would recommend here. Or alternatively, you can use Paralenz's app to connect the camera to the app, which per se doesn't really work very reliably. It takes a couple of attempts to connect the camera to the app, and then once you have connected it, you can download the footage onto the app or onto your phone, and that takes for ages. It's just really bad how long it takes for the footage to get transferred from the camera onto your phone, so I wouldn't really recommend that option. In general, I don't really see the point of the Paralenz app other than having sort of a logbook where you see where you've dived and what you've seen on those dives. But from what I understand and what I've seen, there is no editing part in the Paralenz app. So you will have to, once you've downloaded the footage anyways, bring it into a separate editing software and edit the footage there. The accessibility of the footage that you collect with your iPhone 13 Pro underwater is completely different to the 2 other camera models, simply because using your iPhone to film underwater all the footage that you record will be saved onto the iPhone. Regardless what housing and what app you're using, it will be recorded and saved right onto your phone. And that is a big advantage in my opinion, because now you don't have to go through the extra step of transferring footage from a camera onto your editing device. You can use the software that you've got on your phone, for example iMovie, and you can edit your clips right away and then just share them onto your social media platforms also within minutes. And that is a big advantage in my opinion. That's also why I think that the iPhone 13 Pro deserves to be the winner in this category. So, distributing points, the iPhone 13 Pro, as I said, will get the 3 points in this category. The Paralenz Vaquita will only get 1 point, and the GoPro Hero 10 will get 2 points. And now let's get to probably the most anticipated category, which is image quality. Now, again, we'll look at the GoPro Hero 10 first. I have to say that I do really like the footage that comes out of the GoPro Hero 10. I think that the colors look nice, in particular if you're using red filters with the GoPro Hero 10. And I do really like the stabilization. I think that is really top notch, the stabilization that you get with the GoPro Hero 10. What I don't really like is the light sensitivity. I think that the noise levels are quite high in the shadows. In certain situations the image is just gonna be really dark, and those dark areas are gonna be noisy. There's not really much that you can do about that other than just keeping that in the back of your mind and knowing that that's what's gonna happen. One thing that we also need to talk about when we talk about image quality is how well you can edit the footage that comes out of these cameras on a computer. When we talk about the GoPro, unfortunately it takes quite a toll on your computer system. In particular, if you're filming in 5.3K or in 4K 120, GoPro will use the new H.265 codec to save those clips and make them as small as possible. But this also means that your computer will have to work a lot harder to decode those files and to play back the footage on or inside your editing software. And I've encountered quite a bit of problems with that. Now, I don't have any issues on my MacBook Pro M1 to play back and work with raw footage coming from my Canon C200 or from ProRes raw footage coming from the GH5S, but the H.265 clips coming from the GoPro Hero 10, those are really killing the system, and I oftentimes find myself in need of creating proxies to be able to properly work with that footage on my computer. Now, looking at the Vaquita footage, and the big selling point of the Vaquita is that it's got its DCC, its dynamic color correction, which is basically an algorithm that, depending on the depth that you're in, will then calculate how much extra red colors it has to push into your image and how it has to balance out the image so you get natural looking colors. And in my opinion, it works quite well. I've tested it in a variety of different depth and situations and scenarios, and I found that generally speaking, it works quite well in bluish water. It doesn't work very well in greenish water, in lake water, but Paralenz is aware of that, and they told me that they've optimized the algorithm that it works best in bluish water. So knowing that will help in getting the best possible results. So as I said, the colors do actually look quite nice even if you're down at deeper depth. Now, one negative that I find is that the Paralenz Vaquita does not have an image stabilization, an in-body image stabilization, and it makes it rather difficult to get stable looking shots when filming with their camera underwater. They might incorporate image stabilization in a future update, but up until today they haven't really done that, which is a pity because I think that their camera would benefit a lot by integrating in-body image stabilization to it. When we talk about the editing, the Paralenz Vaquita footage edits quite well in all of the major editing softwares, and I've never really had any issues playing back the footage and editing it in Final Cut Pro 10, which is my preferred editing software. The footage coming out of your iPhone 13 Pro is, in my opinion, superior to the footage that comes out of the other two cameras. Now, the colors, the saturation, the contrast, it just looks amazing straight out of camera. In particular, if you're using the red filter that is integrated in the SeaLife SportDiver smartphone housing. The stabilization works well. I've rarely ever had issues with the autofocus, and the dynamic range is superior to the other two cameras. Also, because you can use all different lenses on your iPhone 13 Pro, you can actually achieve a rather shallow depth of field, giving you footage that special cinematic look that you're looking for. And editing the iPhone 13 Pro footage is really a dream. It works flawlessly, of course, in Final Cut Pro 10, but also in the other editing softwares it is very, very easy to work with. So all in all, I think that the iPhone 13 Pro produces the best image quality out of all of the three cameras, and that's why it's gonna get the 3 points in this category. And because I can't really decide which one is better in terms of image quality, the GoPro or the Paralenz Vaquita, we'll just give both of these cameras 1 point in the category image quality. Now, just a quick info before I forget and before we move on to the next category, I have actually created some LUTs, some lookup tables for the Paralenz Vaquita. These LUTs will help you in color correcting and color grading your images and saving you a lot of time, not having to fiddle around with every single clip, but being able to use these LUTs as kind of a preset that you can just put on top of your clips and they will give them a specific look. I've created a whole bunch of these. There's 6 altogether for all different situations that you might need to use these LUTs in, and they come as a LUT pack. I'll put the information to how you can purchase that LUT pack down in the video description below, and right now there is going to be an introduction offer as well. So if you want to get the LUT pack in combination with my online underwater videography course, Learn to Film Underwater, you will get the LUT pack worth 29 euros for free. You can find all the information to that offer and all the other products that are available in my shop down below in the video description. Let's move on to the last category, category number 6, in which we're going to talk about the add-on accessories, available accessories for these different cameras. Now, looking at the GoPro first, obviously that's the one camera that will have the most accessories available on the market. You can get pretty much any accessory for your GoPros, whether that be red filters, whether that be macro lenses, you can get dome port extensions for your GoPro, you can get selfie sticks, you can get different mounting options, anything you really desire. I'm pretty sure you're gonna find it somewhere out on the market. And whether that is a product that is generally produced by GoPro itself or any of the companies, the third-party companies that produce accessories for the GoPro. Now, the Paralenz Vaquita does have quite a bit of accessories as well, but as far as I know, there is no third-party companies that produce accessories for the Vaquita. It's only Paralenz itself that produces that stuff. So you get different mounting options for mounting the Paralenz Vaquita onto your mask, onto a tray. There is a grip that you can use to just hold the Vaquita more stable. There is a first-person view that you can use to record yourself while diving, all that sort of stuff. Pretty new is also that Paralenz is releasing a macro lens for the Paralenz Vaquita, which will enable you to record macro shots with the Vaquita, which up until now wasn't really possible. And looking at the iPhone 13 Pro, here we have to differentiate a little bit because it depends a lot on what kind of underwater housing you're using as to what accessories will be available. With most underwater housings, there is not a lot of accessories. With some, you will have some like wet lenses that you can add on to the housing to make it more versatile and to increase the quality of the footage that you can get out of that system. But all in all, the iPhone 13 Pro will will probably have the least amount of accessories available on the market. And that's also why in this category the iPhone 13 Pro will only get 1 point, whereas the Paralenz Vaquita will get 2 points and the GoPro Hero 10 will get the full 3 points in this last category. Summing up all the distributed points, we can see that the Paralenz Vaquita ends up having 10 points, the iPhone 13 Pro comes up to 12 points, and the winner is the GoPro Hero 10 with a total of 13 points. Congratulations! Now obviously this doesn't mean that the GoPro Hero 10 is the right camera for filming underwater for everyone out there. Not at all. It just means that based on the criteria and the different categories that we looked at, the GoPro Hero 10 scores highest out of the 3 cameras. All these cameras are capable of recording really high quality footage underwater, and it really depends on how and where you want to use it in terms of what camera is the right one for you and which one you should be going for. If you can test out these cameras before making a decision which one you want to get, then that's obviously the preferred option. Sometimes that's not possible, and in this case, please try to think in which situations and how you want to be using the camera underwater and make your decision on which one is the right one for you based on that. And that's how we get to the end of today's video. I hope that it was useful and you got some information out of it that will help you decide on the appropriate camera that you want to invest in. Please do let me know if you have any thoughts about the comparison of the 3 cameras that we went through today, and also if you have any additional questions that I didn't cover in this video. Just drop your comment down in the comment section below and I'll be more than happy to answer it as quickly as possible. Thanks so much for your time and for sticking with me all the way to the end. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do that right now. Hit that little subscription button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the cool content that will be published here on this channel in the upcoming year. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for watching, and now head out there and capture your amazing underwater adventures one clip at a time. I'll see you in the next video.